party started. Call Woodland Hills Metropolitan District regular board meeting for Thursday, April 24th, 2025 to order. I've got 5:34. Item number 2 on the agenda is roll call.
Joe Martin present.
Stacy Togovich present.
Troy Stinson present,
Kelsey Ivey present.
and that is a quorum. And Sherry Rand is not present. Item 3 is director disclosures.
No disclosures.
Okay. Item 4, approval or disapproval of the agenda. You had said there was a change.
Right.
Yeah, so we can either put it on the consent agenda or we can put it into item 19, because it's the ICA with Colorado Escapes for the Horseshoe Park project. The board has already approved both funding for the project as well as the quote from Colorado Escapes. So really this is just the next evolution in that process. So it's up to you if you want to put it on the consent agenda or if you actually want to go into detail. And
I think we've already approved everything,
Yeah,
right?
Troy
We've already
just needs to
allocated
sign it.
funds.
Yeah, but we just need to have the board vote on the contract because it's a contract. And if it was within the procurement policy, then either Marcus and I would have signed it, but it's outside, so that's the reason why it has to come to.
I think we can throw that in the Park and Rec report since it's not in consent agenda.
Yeah, that or consent, just kind of this is more of a rubber stamp. All the appropriation's been approved, but it wasn't in contract form at that point, so the board's just approving the final form of the contract.
Let's just, we'll just bring that into the Park and Rec report when we get there,
Okay.
since it falls under your enterprise. So we don't really have to add anything or take anything away.
I make a motion we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by John, a second by Stacy. Any other discussion on it? No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Okay, motion carries. All right, Item 5, President's welcome and remarks and rules of conduct. Well, welcome. We don't, we haven't had many residents at the meetings in the last few years. So we welcome you guys for being here. I'm just gonna take a minute right here. This is my last meeting on this term. So this is my second term. I've sat in this seat for 7 years now. As the chairman of the board for this district. It's been a long 7 years. I'd like to say it's been a fun 7 years, and it has been fun. But I just wanted to take a second. And one, I know the community's going to watch, some of them watch these. Thank you guys for trusting me and the folks that have sat on the board with me over the last 7 years to make decisions on your behalf. I'm not just a board member or board director up here, but I'm a resident. I've lived here since 2009, and I've watched the district grow exponentially in the last, 17 years, 18 years, forever. It's the longest I've ever lived anywhere. So I look forward to seeing where the district goes from here, because we're not only stewards for Woodland Hills. This district has an integral part in everything for Eastern Colorado Springs and the Front Range. From water to Park and Rec, we do some of the new stuff that Marcus has been working on that'll come to light here in the future, and some of the stuff that they've done with Park and Rec, it's grown exponentially. Whereas it had sit stagnant for years prior to 2018. It's funny, I had to think about that last night, and as I was driving out here tonight, that it's been since 2018 that I've sat up here. I have missed one board meeting in the last 7 years that I have not been able to attend. Every other one I've either been here in person, by phone. COVID, we done these for Zoom or over Zoom, which was challenging in itself. And it definitely, I have been in public service since 1993 now. In one way, shape, or form, from the military to my current job to doing this on the side, and this is not a paying job. This is by statute $100 a meeting and $2,600 a year. That's it, by statute. And there is a lot of back and forth between individual board directors and your staff. Some of the highlighted changes, I just really want to highlight a couple things. And one is doing away with our general manager position out here for Woodman Hills. At the time, everybody said we were crazy for doing that and just bringing in 4 enterprise directors. But I can tell you that has probably been one of the greatest decisions that this board, and not just me, but this board has ever made for this district. We alleviated what we would consider a single point of failure in many districts and many corporations or utilities and things by having one CEO or CFO in charge of everything. It becomes a single point of failure for that company or that business. These 4 folks that are running your enterprises now, we've placed the utmost trust of the board and you residents in them. And I hope that you guys can continue to see that those decisions made by the board to put these folks in charge have benefited the district and you as community members greatly. They're very responsive and receptive to anything the community needs or wants. Very responsive and receptive to the direction of the board members, the direction we put forward. And our direction is limited to the scope of which the services the district provides. And you can see that if you go back and look at the documents for the district, the service plan, the rules and regulations, the standards that we've adopted from the city, the county, and things that govern a lot of things. So we've increased your water capacity here in this district, 10-fold in the last 7 years. We've just made a land purchase over here to add what's hopefully going to be some more storage facilities and hopefully another rec center in the future for the district. We've increased the equipment, the turnaround on equipment, tried to just make it a better place to live. A lot of you moved here for a reason. It's either the recreation community, and I know I hear it a lot that people don't use the rec centers and things. If you walk on a trail here, that's covered under your park and rec. So I just hope that we've made a difference, that I've made a difference over the last 7 years, and even if it's just one person in the district's life to make it better, I did my job. I did what you put me up here to do. And I hope the rest, I want to open the floor up for the other board members that are leaving, just to say their piece. But I just wanted to come up here. I could have went through accomplishments over the last 7 years and we'd have been here until Monday for what the district's done and the board's done and these folks have done. It didn't start out smooth and it didn't go smooth for the first few years, but it has leveled out. It has smoothed out. There's work to be done still. There are a lot of things on the table that you'll see coming to light with agreements between districts and builders and things. We've tried to keep a standard here with Woodman Hills as far as, high density housing versus normal single family residences and things, to not have our neighborhoods and our community out here inundated with apartment complexes and things of that sort. So I hope everybody, we can't make everybody happy up here, but we can only take the community input, our enterprise director's input, and what we research ourselves through the Special Districts Act, Special Districts Association, and the state, because this is an extension of state government being up here, and make the best decisions that we possibly can for you guys as community members. And just like any other elected position, we won't see those results until 8 to 10 years down the road, if they're the right ones. But good or bad, right or wrong, over the last 7 years, I stand by every decision I ever made, every vote I ever made, on behalf of the community members of this district in Falcon. So thank you, and with that, I'll leave it to John.
Well, I'm definitely not the speaker that Troy is, so. I've been on the board for 5 years. It's amazing the changes that have happened in the last 5 years, or 7 years since I've been involved, kind of. When I started this position, it was dang near 20, 30 hours a week that we were dealing with stuff. always, all the time, something going on, something happening, to now where it's, hey, we have the trust of your 4 directors and they do such an awesome job taking care of this community. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate their hard work and how easy they've made the board's job since we put them in place. I don't know what else to say. I definitely appreciate the other board members. We've always worked together very well. We're kind of all have the same ideas and thoughts about things, so that's why we've gotten as much done as we have. You don't hear the bickering, the fighting back and forth. I don't think we've ever had any of that on this board, so, well, maybe Stacy once or twice.
There it is. There it
I
is.
just had to throw it out.
It's his
But
last
thank
day.
you to the community for allowing me to do this. It's definitely been, we have had fun. And again, thank you to, even though Wally's not here, thank you to all 4 of you guys for your hard work. And I know you will continue to do the same kind of stuff and get the business done and take care of the community. Some of the things that I've seen, real quick,
You got the 3-minute timer.
oh. Yeah, thank goodness we don't have that anymore. The rec centers, for any of you that have been here for any period of time, when I started, the rec centers hadn't been touched in years. And we are finally to the point, RCE is, all the stucco's fixed, the windows are put in right, they're not upside down, inside out anymore. We got a new roof put on. I think we've got the HVAC stuff all figured out now, it's all good to go. A lot of upgrades to the pool. And then you look at the big upgrade we did to that gym. They had tried for years and years and years to get that new gym put in, but they just couldn't find the money. They didn't have the money. Well, we figured out where the money was going, we stopped that, and we were able to pay cash for that new facility over there. The big water tank out west, I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. That went in. There's just been so many things. Park and Recs has done a ton too. Just look around and see what they've done with Balkan Park, what they're getting ready to do with Horseshoe Park. Our trails are all kept maintained very, very well now. They're keeping our ditches clean. I don't know if any of you drive down Eastonville, the big canal starting at Del Rio and keeps going. That's cleaned out now. It's not all overgrown. It's just so many things that have been accomplished by these guys. It's just incredible. So thank you to you guys. Thank you to the board members. Thank you to the community. It's definitely been a pleasure serving for the last 5 years.
Troy, if we could, the directors and I would like to just say, thank you to both you and John, and I know Sherry's not here right now, but for your dedicated service to the district. So we do want to present some plaques to you guys for your dedicated years of service. So just thank you so much. Really appreciate everything that you did.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You didn't mention about all the stuff we did to work.
What's that?
Oh, I mentioned the tank.
More than just tank, but brand new plant.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to come for the community. I'll tell you what. You're going to start hearing the board talk about partnerships with developers and things, and we are not developer driven, not developer owned like some of the other districts that are still under developer control. We are not. We have always been in control of Woodman Hills fate, and that is a big deal in today's day and age. But no progress happens without partnerships.
And mention no mill levies.
And we are still I think we're still one of the 6 in the state that have no mill levies imposed on. We pay for everything through fees, and that's it. That's the revenue for the district is fees, no mill levies. We do get creative with financing.
That I do.
But still very transparent.
But I know we,
Thank you.
I know we jest, we jest a lot, and, you know, we can't ever forget that there are some big expenditures for this district and the community on the horizon. There are some regulatory requirements that have to be made to our plant, our wastewater plant, going forward, that are EPA requirements that we can't get around. So there, you will hear in the future here a lot of talk about a lot of money having to be spent to upgrade everything. But what you will also hear is the work that's went in by these folks and your board of directors to ensure that we have backwards planned our fee schedule for this district to meet that expenditure. And we have partnered with the right developers, builders, and other community members to help pay for that, so that our community members aren't footing that whole bill for those EPA required upgrades. So you'll hear a lot about that, and you'll hear some naysayers saying, hey, this is crazy. We're not requiring the upgrade. The state of Colorado is. The EPA is. And a lot of you that are familiar with Cherokee understand the heartache they're going through with their RO plants and their new systems over there that are having to be put online. So, you know, even though we jest and we talk about the good things and stuff, it is a burdensome thing when it comes to spending that kind of money for something that's being required by the government to upgrade. But, and we don't know if it's the best thing for the future or not. But we do know water is more valuable in Colorado than gold. So we have tried to protect our water rights and water resources the best we can. With that, I will, if someone wants to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 6, public comment regarding current board business not on the agenda. Public comment. Oh, God.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Don't cry.
I'm not gonna make it cry.
Oh.
My name is Samantha Stenton, I'm Troy's wife. And I just wanted to say that for the past 7 years, he's done a lot of work for this community. He's done a lot of reading, he's done a lot of research, he's done, everything that he's done has been for this district and for everybody that lives here. It's never anything just for one person, it's been for all the people that live here in this community. So I think what he's done for the past 7 years is absolutely incredible. I'm a little bit sad that it's over, a little worried about it, but we're gonna move forward. The community should do well. Hopefully, we keep moving forward. Everything that Troy's done is he's made this district more better for the water and everything that's gonna go with the water. The rec center is great, it's a shiny object, but it's mostly about when you flush your toilet, where does it go? And it goes away, and when you turn your water on, it comes back, and Troy's done such a great job just to get everything situated and to get everything in place. So I just wanted to say that, say thank you.
I didn't do it. It takes 5. It takes a vote of 5.
You're blushing, this is great.
Yeah. Well, she has to, her and my kids had to bear the brunt for 7 years of not only my overtime and all my work at work, but also the time it takes to research Title 32 and the other state statutes that go with governing for the state. So it's
Driving you over after you had surgery for poison.
yes.
That
So
is correct.
so they have even last night when I was complaining that we got all the documents, within 24 hours of this meeting, so I had to stay up and review everything last night so that we could make good decisions tonight.
Way to go, Carter.
Any other public comment? I see new faces out here. No public comment?
No,
Nothing?
sir.
New to the district?
Yeah, just moved into the area in November.
Okay.
Now, that being said, my family was living on Canito, just about 2 miles from here.
Okay.
So I got to see Falcon when it was only a gas station. So it's amazing how much has changed between now and '98.
Wait 5 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. There's nowhere left to grow against the Front Range. Everything's gonna come east, so, north and east, so. Minus the little trickles out by Shreveport. Well, welcome to the district. Thanks for choosing Woodman Hills. We appreciate it. Hopefully we're doing something right.
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah, we've been here 5.5 years in Falcon, and I've just never been involved in a community. But I'm the president of the Exchange Club of Falcon. It's a nonprofit organization here. We do a lot of stuff, and we raise money to get back to nonprofits. So I figured I better start getting involved in some of these meetings to find out how we could probably help Falcon more with that nonprofit. So I'm just coming to see what you're all about and see how we can get involved and see how we can work with people.
Perfect. Perfect. Welcome. Welcome. And get your information to all these folks right here. All right, great. And we know that lady.
I just want to say thank you. I mean, the difference since we've moved here, we've been here now 14 years, and the difference is just absolutely incredible. I'm like Samantha, I'm a little bit concerned about how it's going to go forward, but I think you have laid the groundwork, and I'm hoping that somebody will follow and continue. I wish that it was a little bit more known to the public of all the changes and everything that you've done, because there's a lot of inside work, and it's kind of like a thankless job. I mean, you get out there and you organize and do all this, find all the water, do all the building and everything, and you know, I just hope that we can continue to, somebody can fill your shoes.
They got this.
They got it. But it's incredible. It's incredible how much it's changed. I just find it absolutely amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Judy. Appreciate that.
You haven't been over for eggs in a while.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought your birds were sick.
No.
No.
They just are very finicky when they lay. Not a thankless job. I mean, anybody in this district can drive around, especially if you lived here, you know, since early 2000s. You can drive around and see the difference in everything around the district. It's very different.
Especially Falcon Park.
Yes.
Falcon Park is like the biggest difference for somebody who's just driving through the neighborhood. That would be probably where I would send them.
And we're getting ready to talk about a contract where they're going to start through our trade, and I'll briefly touch on that when we go into the contract again. For where they're building the new sheriff's office to where we got Horseshoe Park in that deal, and what's going in over at Horseshoe Park for the community. So they're and that Park and Rec is the visual piece, the water tanks, the new sewer lines, the water lines, the tanks, Tamlin tanks,
Pump stations,
the new
lift
pump
stations.
stations, lift stations, all the new infrastructure that's went in, insuring our fire hydrants because they get run over every week.
Stop it.
Not
You
according to the
cannot say
report.
that out loud.
Not according to our
Didn't have
current
one
report.
hit for 2 months.
There you go.
You just did it, didn't you?
Teed that up perfect. I would just call for the community to be involved. I mean, that's probably, and seeing new folks come to these meetings is a breath of fresh air. You never really know, when nobody comes to the meetings, you don't know how you're doing. It's kind of the ultimate litmus test is when somebody shows up and says thank you, or we used to have the gentleman that come in for downstairs, it's Tony, right?
Yep.
Tony, come in and say, hey, this treadmill's not working, or it's not working right. Well, we can direct that straight to the director and we can make something happen. So it's the community feedback that lets you know how you're doing. This is different than a national public office because I can get instant feedback from the community. Our email's right there. You can email these board members at any time and they'll respond. It is gratifying to be able to have that interaction with the community. So I miss that. And my day-to-day job, I have that interaction with the community nonstop. So it's instant feedback on how you're doing. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys coming to the meetings. I hope you'll continue to come and put input in to the future of the district and Falcon as a whole. With that, we'll move on to item 7. Is that them? Are they partying in there?
They are. They're much more fun than we are.
Well, Kelsey's still sitting here, so
I'll go ruin their party.
He's in
That's-
courtyard.
Oh, they're
Different
enjoying
courtyard,
it.
right?
That is Cory Detroit?
That courtyard.
It is all.
It's the one that you're in.
I'll ruin their party.
So we need that party.
I got some words.
So we'll move on to item 7, our consent agenda. On the consent agenda for this month, and I'll just read it off here. The items listed below are a group of items to be acted on with a single motion and vote by the board. An item may be removed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda by any board member. Items on the consent agenda are then voted on by a single motion, second, and a vote by the board. With that being said, we have 3 items on the consent agenda. Item A is approval of our December 5th, 2024 meeting minutes. Is that right? December?
That was a special meeting.
Ah,
Yeah.
Correct, yeah, so we just missed that for the, having that ratified at a prior meeting.
Item B is the approval for the March 27, 2025 meeting minutes, and item C would be the wastewater report. Are there any board members that would need any of those 3 pulled out of the consent agenda?
no. I need to make edits to 2 of them.
Okay, to A and B?
Yes.
I'm assuming? Okay. All right, so can I get a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda with
They're immaterial
Okay.
changes. It's just like a date needs to be adjusted for the right year, and then Stacy's name is actually spelled wrong.
Oh
So
my
I've
God.
been sitting here for 5 years and we decided to take on a new
unfortunately, that's still considered immaterial. I'm sorry, Stacy.
spelling. Yeah,
But
I'm immaterial, it's fine. See if I rerun again.
I make a motion to
Better.
approve the consent agenda.
That's it.
I've got a motion by John to approve the items on the consent agenda,
Second.
a second by Kelsey. Any other discussion with the non-material edits?
Thank you.
All in favor?
Alright.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. All right. Item 8 is approval of March financials.
all right, so in your packet and up on the screen are financials for 3/31, so ending March 31st. So overall, the revenue summary, actual revenue brought in for the district was $1,158,971 on a budget for that month of $1,111,796, so a positive variance of $47,000. Year to date, actual revenues, we're at $2,993,137. Year to date budget was $3,474,985. So with negative variance of $481,000. But like what we've discussed month over month, is that tap fees specifically are very hard to forecast from a month-to-month basis. We have started to see development kick up. So everybody probably knows what I call the Falcon Marketplace Extension, which is Owl Place. So those wastewater and water disposal reports, meaning that's what's going to the county to get that plat submittal. we gave them the invoice for their deposit to get those reports done, which means within the next few months, they'll get county approval, and then we'll start to get tap fees coming in from all that commercial development, which commercial tap fees are a lot greater than single family. We have seen Challenger submit tap fees. It's not as much as I would have expected, but they also did a lot of permitting at the end of last year. So they had excess homes that they could kind of build, so to speak, that they already paid for in '24. And so they are starting to ramp that up a little bit as well. So I would say this period of time, this next quarter or 2 quarters, is really gonna be our prime time for that development money that's coming in. It's also our prime months for water revenue because irrigation season is getting ready to start. So whether it's residential irrigation or commercial irrigation, that's where we bring in a lot of revenue as well. So these next 2 quarters are gonna be really telling for the district from a revenue perspective. Any other questions on revenue before I go on to expenses? Okay, so total expenses for the month were $451,156 on a budget of $892,116. Positive variance of $440,960. Year-to-date actual expenses was $1,512,646 on a budget of $2,455,589. So also positive variance of $942,942. Overall net income for the month came in actual $707,815 on a budgeted amount of $219,680, with a positive variance of $488,135. Actual year-to-date net income is $1,480,490 on a budget of $1,019,396, so positive variance year-to-date of $461,094. It will be reflected in next month's budgets, but we did get our $1 million back from ARPA for the grant funding that we had for the new water treatment facility. So that'll go in there, so that obviously is gonna help out with overall revenues and net income, but that money is being essentially reinvested into water capital projects. Any questions on expenses?
I just wanted to hit on a couple.
Sure.
One being streetlights. I know I'd seen some chatter about we're coming into high crime time of year.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting to see an increase out here about the streetlights, and is MVEA getting out checking them?
It's a combination of that. Residential reports, they're our best because they are the ones that report it almost immediately when they see it. And then when we can get this time of year is very difficult because it's getting dark much later. Winter, it's very easy to see which ones are out. But residents are still our best view on that because they report. They're very quick to report.
And Marcus and I's teams have a good process in place, so typically we'll get notified at district office, and then we will turn around and give it to Marcus. His team actually will is responsible for that, so then he then turns around and submits that to NVEA as a work order, and then come out and take a look at it and make whatever repairs necessary.
Okay.
And they're generally very quick, much quicker than that.
And I've also, the last 2 months, signed 2 more contracts for more streetlights, specifically more in Bay Grass. As they're building that out, we're getting more streetlights over there. So just so the community understands, we are the master owner of all the streetlights in the community. So they all come to us from a billing perspective. We pay all that bill. That's why we turn around and then bill the community for that utility.
All right. Second, have we looked at our exception cap for Tabor as far as our revenue for the year? Did
So
we
because
measure
we're enterprise exception under Tabor, we do not follow the Tabor cap. So that doesn't apply to us, which is really good in the sense that we can take all that excess money and put it back into capital projects, which is what we've always done. And like you alluded to earlier, Troy, we have a lot of capital projects today, but also on the books over the next 10 years. There's a lot of capital that's going to go out for those. So having that excess revenue is really important to keep rates down. If we were subject to Tabor, we had to do those Tabor refunds, it would be much harder for us to fund, cash fund specifically, those capital projects. I would say 75% of our capital projects today are cash funded. That would not be true if we were subject to all the Tabor rules.
Cool. Third, security patrols. We've had instances, our vehicle's been broken into, facilities and things. With the new substation coming in out here, it's probably time to engage El Paso County about putting in some type of, whether it's a security company, they're not gonna be able to man the extra patrol units out here. But a security company, maybe key boxes or something to monitor their patrols, but to check all the facilities. I mean, when you think about it, looking at it from a standpoint of fence and gates is what protects our community's water, wastewater plants, our recreation centers and things. So I think we're probably getting big enough, and if you pulled the crime stats from El Paso County, we're probably getting to that point where we probably need to look at some type of, and it would need to be a coordinated effort between the districts.
So I make a suggestion, Troy. The Woodmore has a WIA that's they have their own security force that they drive around. They can enforce, and if they need be, they will engage El Paso County or State Patrol. It's a fee that they do. It's an association. It's an additional charge. But if we can incorporate some of their program that they've done over there, maybe not cost the district residents a lot of money, unless there was a small portion. And if the community would be open to have something like that for some peace of mind, it's not a bad idea.
Now that we have the new fence up around district office, are all vehicles being parked there?
All water assets, because the district office is also the water admin building. So all water assets are over there, except for the large trucks and vehicles, backhoes. Those are either at Theriot or at the wastewater treatment plant. But all of those are, yes.
Parks and Rec is here still, with the camera and the 24-hour foot traffic. Tends to help this location, but we do have a plan on bringing it behind RCE. We already have the cameras in place, but we're fencing those 2 new sheds in order to have our quote-unquote bowling yard back there for our vehicles. Water's getting a lot of new assets, and that lot's filling up, so we're just trying to use some of that congestion.
I just know, based on what I see, what I do every day, that I know potential there.
I think we could certainly work, June is when we'll start looking at budget for next year. We could see what that looks like and what that is, and for sure, yeah.
Because you contracted with a security vendor for when you do the beer gardens, right?
We did as a little on the high side, but we can look at, because we've talked about doing part-time park rangers, which is similar to what you're talking about. It's basically a community service to check on.
It's just something to have direct interaction. You know how long it takes to get a deputy to respond for a cold report or a theft or break-in or anything like that, and that's not gonna change anytime soon. Just putting in a substation out here is not gonna make that go away.
Yeah.
There's still priority response, so it's a matter of doing what we can to protect our community assets. And I think the rest of Falcon would be on board with something like that, working with El Paso County to ease that burden on them. You know,
So
they used to do the community patrols out here. I don't know how many of them they have left.
we have good relationships with the surrounding districts as well. So I think it's a point that we can bring up in those active talks that we have. Case in point, we have an upcoming meeting with Meridian Service. So I think I can put that on the agenda for that meeting, as well as say, hey, would you be interested in a joint kind of venture when it comes to security? I agree with you. I think what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing. We all pay a smaller fee, but we all benefit from that patrol. It makes a lot of sense. So we can get that slated and try to get some more information to the board. I think Mark's suggestion is during the budget window is probably the most ideal time, because it is going to be an additional expense that we haven't typically budgeted for.
Just trying to cover what I still got in my mind as unfinished business.
I know that from a budget standpoint, I don't know that you were here yet, Carter, but we started looking at, like automatic gates. If the vehicle gets close enough, if it's a district vehicle, it automatically opened.
That was actually me.
Okay. I wasn't sure when we did stuff
Yeah.
like that, but it was basically, it was a heightened security, to make sure like the gates, mainly at main office, cause you have to do them by hand. They locked behind you, so that way like, you know, somebody just can't follow you in,
Right.
things like that. And so we have looked at it.
And we are still looking at that, I'll be honest with you. It's very, very expensive.
Yes, it is.
I've gotten quite a few quotes, and all the quotes are varying degrees of expensive. But one of the first steps we wanted to take was getting the new fence around the district office and the water assets. And so the next phase is gonna be, okay, how do we now incorporate that automatic gate? We also are looking at automatic door locks for the district office as well. So give us some more security around that. RFID is going to be the future for our doors. It's something that we would like to incorporate throughout the district. Case in point, you have a new employee, if they're gone, it's easy to deactivate their RFID badge. It is hard to go out and recore every single door in the district that they may have had access to.
We've done that.
And we have done that. I don't want to do that anymore. I would much rather just say, hey, Stacy's no longer here, deactivate.
Wow.
So that
From that side, that side.
Wow.
I'd rather hear that.
so that
You know what, I'd like to give my exit speech too.
Sorry, we don't have time for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta wait 4 more years.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I just see my years of service are really paying off here.
Just something I know we've talked about a couple of times, and just want to keep it up forefront.
I make a motion, we approve the March financials.
I'll second.
Okay, who wants it?
She's
On record. All right. Got a motion by John and second by Stacy, approval of March financials. Any other discussion? No, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No opposed?
Next.
Item 9, Parks and Rec.
All right, any questions
You got a
on
compromise one?
the director's report?
Can you give us a little
Yeah.
spiel, a little summary?
Yeah, I'll do a little spiel and summary. I'll highlight some of the things, because some of the things have changed. I mean, I won't really talk about the programs that we're running. We do a ton of programs. Revenue, we're hitting our numbers, doing great. Team's doing good on that. Horseshoe Park, we'll talk about that a little bit. That was first on there. So the scope of that work, building a 120-yard field that can house full-size tackle football and soccer out there. And we'll have year-round soccer posts out there, and then during football season, the ability to put the post above it. I'm sure you've seen those in high schools and parks where it can kind of do both. And then irrigation, and then also 4-lane pressure fine, crushed asphalt walking track around it. That'll serve, and then there's also going to be a curb between there. That area gets very wet in the springtime, so by doing that turf, an artificial turf really was a no-go because it would just ruin that base year in, year out. So we're going actual grass out there and then irrigation. But we are, part of that contract was where they are going to pull the right permits, do the right planning, and do all that stuff. So it'll actually be planned the way it's supposed to. It's going to be crowned so because of that moisture issue. And they're actually going to crown the exterior, the native to go. There's a water drainage off, kind of sits behind the park, the playground. It's hidden. There's actually a grate back there that's where we're going to steer the access water to. And then part of the irrigation will actually be to irrigate the immediate native around it to keep that native more lush. We're not going to put grass on there, but it'll be a native blend out there around the perimeter of that too. Seating will be mainly what you see at parks. We'll have 2 sets of bleachers, but we'll also have a lot of it, which will be camp chair, enough room for camp chair seating and stuff like that out there. With this, we'll probably be looking at that first week in May to start breaking ground and getting everything going. With ideal, fingers crossed, good spring, good summer. You know, hopefully in September we're playing on that field.
Have you lived in Colorado?
We had one like last year. Last year was actually really good for us. The year before was terrible. I don't know if everyone remembers, but it was very wet that year. That was a very bad spring. But if we can have one like last year, we'll be playing football in September in that park.
Cool.
And that insurance, if you can read through that and approve that, that's just to move forward with the project, to finalize that and get the contractor going.
And that ICA is something that general counsel creates for the district, so it's not something like the vendor created and then we take it. It's actually our template, all of our rules and regulations, indemnity clauses, insurance policies, everything. So just to give extra confidence to the board and to the community that it's not the vendor saying, oh, we are gonna do X, Y, and Z. No, we are dictating the terms of the contract that you must abide by.
I've read it.
I did too.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We got a motion by Stacy to approve it, a second by John. Any other discussion on it? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great, thank you. And then moving on, CCW, we've had some wear and tear. We're getting a lot of usage here. We've seen kind of a flip here. We're getting a lot of usage here. And the RCs kind of came back a little bit. So some broken mirrors, broken ellipticals. We're on those. Ellipticals have some turnaround time, just getting parts and everything in. So those will be in May 1st. We're actually going to pull the one that's here broken right now to bring it over to RCE. So when the parts do come in, we can fix it real quick. And then bring one of the ellipticals over there. It's just a shell game to get it over here because we are seeing more U-sheets over here so that we do have all the equipment.
How did that mirror break?
Huh?
How did it break?
That was my next question. Like, how do we keep breaking mirrors?
We have cameras in there,
The
right?
mirror, the mirror? That one's a lot easier. The elliptical one's the one that's got me baffled because if you watch the video, it's just someone using it. And
Sorry, I generally don't look in the mirror.
Yeah, but
That
the
one
mirror.
time.
It's hard to avoid them downstairs now, you know?
The mirror, the best you can tell is someone put a weight up against it. Like they took
Put
the
a
weight
weight?
out. They took the weight off the bar, and when they were in between their sets, took it off, leaned it against the mirror, and
Oh, no.
because it's just the right length, the way that the curvature is on it. It is what it is. Jim's getting off. It's not unusual. It's not
Is it
cheap.
is it
$400 or
preventable?
$500 every time one breaks, but.
Is it preventable?
We are moving that,
mirrors.
yes, we're moving that
Yeah.
piece of equipment to, the Olympic rack is gonna be moving, we added another mirror in the back. So we're moving that so there's a dedicated space, where that piece should have a dedicated space. Because if you're doing hanging, cleans, and jerks, it's dangerous, and where it actually is right now, if you drop that bar, if you lost balance, it could actually go into the room itself. So where it's going to be is a much safer place anyways, when we do that. And then what's going in its place is a static machine that doesn't have weights, so no more breakage. Ideally. I should
So
say
for
no
my
more.
last
It'll always-
meeting, you put that giant clock up there?
You just now noticed?
No, I noticed it. I was just waiting until your time to talk about it.
Well, it's actually, we have a church in here on Sunday, so it's part of the church that we put in, and the TV too, so. But it's for your guys' benefit as well.
Well, thank goodness we can see the time.
There you go. And I'll
But
keep
that
watching.
clock is not identical to that clock.
Oh, damn it. I
You
tried. Right before you got here.
Real quick, I got this email at 4:39 from a resident of the community, Darren Gibbs. Says he's a regular at the Woodman Hills Rec Center East. He said he wanted to take a minute, highlight a superstar on our staff at Rec Center East, Stephanie. Stephanie knows that his family is involved with caring for unhoused and marginalized communities downtown. She was able to provide 3 garbage bags of used clothing and other materials, providing essential warm clothing during last weekend's snowstorm. It was perfect timing that her leadership and the generosity of our staff provided essential warm clothing and potential life-saving materials to dozens of people in need as they walked around some of the unseen and dark places, handing clothing, a hot cup of coffee, and hope. Says, Troy, you have a great staff. It's not my staff, it's your staff. It's refreshing to see that your staff not only care about taking care of us residents of the Falcon community, but they also have a big heart for those less fortunate. Please pass along my sincere appreciation to your entire staff. Respectfully, Darren Gibbs. Thank you, Darren, and thank you guys.
Absolutely, Steph,
Definitely
great.
thank you, Stephanie.
She took that. We're getting a lot of resident engagement, which has been awesome from different churches, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, with a variety of projects from cleanup days to Eagle Scout projects. That's a testament to the staff and being responsive and trusting that we're going to do what we're going to do. So we should see when we have the Eagle Scouts there, we're working on a Girl Scout project right now. It's equivalent to the Eagle Scout and the Eagle Scout. When they get up and going, I'm going to invite those people here to the board so you guys can meet them as well and learn more about their projects and their doing. So yes, we're getting a lot of citizens. It's great to hear. So thank you. I'll make it quick. So that's here. Park. We did put the pickleball nets up. We do take them down during winter, and the reason we do it is because when it snows and you shovel, that surface just gets destroyed. So we're eliminating the shoveling of the pickleball surface to make that asset last longer. So, but they are up. Knock on wood. Majority of the snow's over. Besides little.
You just jinxed us.
Any plans to put a couple more at Horseshoe?
Well, the master plan I was going to talk about that too. The master plan, they were going to talk, but we kind of had them reevaluate some things. We looked at kind of the draft, didn't like the direction they were going, needed some more pictures, some more things on their suggestions, and their financials weren't quite
Colored pictures.
Colored pictures. Yes, nice colored pictures and suggestions and pricing to what they're suggesting. There was stuff missing. So I didn't want to put that in front of you guys until we have that fully vetted document. So hopefully in May that it's good, but if it's not where I wanted it in May, you won't see it till after. It's not getting it until it's done and good. Until we have that 10-year plan in place and what it looked like. So more to come on that master plan, but they will call out different things like pickleball and things like that. On that,
Is the fishing pond still leading the vote?
The ice rink was leading the vote, but I talked to JD about what a pond a reservoir would look like, and he doesn't seem too confident that he can make that happen. The price tag was a little high. So
that's a 2-for-1 project, because in the wintertime it's an ice skating rink.
Well, it would create that renewable water. I mean, it would be a blessing, but we'll see.
Outdoor ice hockey is
Right, the
wonderful.
the surface right, so then the water here, which it will be a very uphill battle. Yeah.
Drainage, we're attacking that while we can, because we know spring's coming if it's wet like that year. We've already got Tompkins done. We've got Parkside done. We've got good third of Safeway done. The important part by the drain is done, and then those drainage ditches. So, and then last winter we really worked on getting Horseshoe, all the trees out of the creek bed at Horseshoe. So we're much better on drainage than where we've been.
The B guy's happy now? He
Yeah,
understands?
he's great. Perry, his name's Perry. Yeah, we had a good conversation. Let him know what we're doing and that we are making a dedication. I mean, our Parks and Rec department is aware and very. That's why we do our mowing the way we do in Horseshoe and leave some areas for the pollination effect, and we're not mowing the whole park down and doing different things. And it's because we are taking animal habitat and bee habitat into account. So we're glad to hear that we're at least thinking of that. Some things that aren't on my report that's kind of come to fruition after we talked about the pool filling. probably within the next 2 weeks, that pool would be, we drain it out of the current water that's in it, and then we spray it out, get all the glycol out of lines, fill it up, fire it up, so it's ready to go by Memorial Day weekend. So that'll be good to go. We just put a request for a proposal out for a new POS system, because December 10th, our ActiveNet contract is done. So we'll have something else in place, something much better, something that's better for not only staff, but our community residents. Some of the things we're seeing are just awesome, so it's gonna be pretty cool when that's said and done. And then we met with a company called Placer AI that we're heavily looking at, that does GPS tracking, that we pay a fee to, and then that they're able to see, so we can see how many people are using CCW in real time. It tracks cell phone movement, shows where they're going, where they're coming from, how often it's being used. Same with our parks, trails, open space, all that stuff, special events. It'll really help us understand that, and for a security reason. I'll be able to go back and see who was in that lot if they had a cell phone that night on that. So
That's
to go back.
scary.
It is? Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
creepy.
But useful tool, so there's more to come. A lot of my counterparts are using this already. Stephanie, it was a big thing when Stephanie went to revenue school. Around the country they're using this. It's good, and it helps turn around for different things, for also creating partnerships with businesses that people are using. If there's things that we have synergy with, grant proposals, because if we want to do something in the park and we don't want to put that full financial burden on our residents, we can say this is how many people are using it, this is where we're pulling them from, and try to get some of those GoCo grants and things like that. So it will be a good tool, so we have to make sure the price is right.
And how does that track? Because there's limitations now
Yeah,
on PII retention.
it is, and they're all, not supposedly, they are in compliance with all of that. They use different layering model, so it tracks the GPS, but then somehow it also, with artificial intelligence, layers it, so that they also know the demographic of that area where they're coming from and doing all that as well. I will send, anybody who wants it. Does everybody, they sent me a copy, they did a study on CCW, and I can send individually each of you if you'd
Just
like to see
curious,
what it
yeah,
looks
I'm
like.
curious.
Yeah, just out
how
of
they're
curiosity.
getting around.
I think it's really interesting, so I think.
How they're
you might
monitoring
think
that.
it's interesting too.
Are you in talk, have you guys discussed the GoCo funding legislation already?
I sent it out to both Marcus and John, and then John has replied back on that. We haven't had another discussion since that, but it's really just a matter of how impactful, if any, is this gonna be. What I think Marcus and I talked about it too is it's gonna impact our ability to get outside grant funding, but it shouldn't have that much of an impact on the revenue that we receive from the CTF or the Colorado Lottery Fund. But that is also proposed in that bill too. There's some changes, but the thing is, in other words, we don't need the CTF funds in order to operate. We use that as like a capital cushion for some of these projects. Like the master plan is being funded 100% by Colorado Trust Fund funds. So that wasn't funds that we got from the residents, that was from lottery. So it will be a slight impact, but until it actually becomes law, there's not really much that we can do about it.
In organizations like Colorado Parks and Rec Association, National Recreation Park Association, they're also finding workarounds on those. And I'm quite confident when it flushes out, CPRA will have them good. They'll just rename it. They've already started to this year. They call it the Starburst Awards instead of GoCo, and kind of, but it's a similar funding mechanism. They find ways around it.
All right.
If I could, I'd also just like to highlight, I know Marcus didn't, but look at this revenue trend. When you look at the last 3 years, this is pretty awesome to see. And it's not, hey, we're spending more to make more. We're actually spending less in a lot of areas. So Marcus, through his leadership, has done a really good job I think from an organizational perspective to put the right people in the right place. I will, if we had the data in there, it would be great to see, but look at the amount of private swim lessons that we did 3 years ago to what we're doing now, and all the other things that are coming on in the aquatics world. Look at what we did this last summer, partnering with Falcon Best, right? So there's a lot of revenue that's coming in that is not costing the district anything more and sometimes less than what it did years ago.
Have we found good balance on
Right.
outside versus inside folks using the facilities? I know there for a while we were getting some chatter about people not being able to use the gym because it was always rented out.
Yeah, that is always we've got, it's one of those things where one of my biggest nightmares is if everybody in our community woke up tomorrow and decided to use the recreation center. That would be a nightmare because we do not have the space to do that. Yeah, it is a balance on being responsible to the more ways we can generate revenue that's beneficial to the district, to keep that monthly bill down, but also keep access to use. That's one of the things we're constantly, as an example, today, we have the pickleball club, and we're looking at, I feel free to speak freely on this, because we're probably in the next fall, we're changing that. We're gonna make it like open volleyball and basketball, so our residents won't have to pay an extra fee, because we won't staff it, or we'll just be open, come in and play. So we're constantly looking at how we can benefit our residents. It's the number one question to all of our staff meetings. What we're doing, is it benefiting residents?
Here's one thing that I'd like to put out to the community, that when we came on the board, we had a general manager and we had other people in management positions that basically claimed nobody could ever replace me. I'm good, I'm the best there is, nobody could ever replace me. And one thing that they never did was train their replacements. Because if they train somebody, well, then they have somebody that could replace them. All of our directors work really hard to train their replacements, but since we're talking about Park and Rec right now, Marcus has done so much with his staff, sending them to schools, sending them to all kinds of different programs, so they can learn how Park and Rec, not just in Falcon works, but around the United States. It helps them, it helps him, it helps the community, because they don't have to always go to Marcus to get an answer, because his people that work for him know the answer already, right? Can't say enough about how much he has done to train his replacements.
Yeah, great staff, love my staff.
Is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Any concerns?
Next.
All right. Item 10, water report.
After 5 years, yeah. You've grown on me.
So we upgraded our last treatment facility of a mini upgrade, which is nice. Kudos to my operations staff. You see there's a 4-day period there that my staff there went and replumbed, revalved the filters. There's 4 of them in there. It's nice to see when I get a group of guys together and see how their ideas, experience, interchanging with less experienced operators, how to work together, and all the little good things that comes with that. With me coming in there and see what their thought processes. Sometimes intervene and say, you've got to do this, could you think about this scenario? So it was really neat and fun. It saved the district money. I will tell you that if we had someone come in there to replumb what we did, it would cost a little over $100,000, and they would not got it done in 4 days, guaranteed. So it was awesome on their part, and
Great
I just
job.
want to make sure that you as a board is aware that you do have very capable operators that's under my charge, and that we work very well together, and it's not me, or I, it's everybody works together as a team, and then we overcome whatever problems that comes with that. But as of today, 5-Star is finishing the last of the programming, because there's just a lot of programming and protocol that has to go into when you revamp the plant. Reusing filter vessels as the start, and being extending their useful life in the media and things like that. There's more savings to the district there, but at the same time, we don't have to go through a re-engineering application with the state and saying that, well, we're changing our process, or changing the filter direction of how the water's coming in those, as long as that everything is what it was before, but upgrade to the new current technologies and those things. It just makes the savings and a lot of headaches that you would normally encounter, which I'll get into in another item here in a minute. It just makes a smooth transition, and then you have a useful asset that will continue on for another 20 years. So that's for that part of it there. Now, we had our sanitary survey, and at the time when I did this report, we did not get our letter, and I got my letter yesterday. So there's an item talking about regulations, and when we do a sanitary survey, this time I felt this sanitary survey was pretty in-depth. And not just for me, but for Falcon Highlands, because we were running that system over there at the same time. And so we had two deficiencies. One of them is what you're looking at on that paper is the hatch, the two hatches that would be on the Bayorat tank side.
I got it up on the screen, JD.
No. Well, I just came prepared with the color.
It's in color.
It's in color.
It's in color.
I can't wait for the new board.
Why is that?
They will hit me with.
I don't know if it's like.
Well, I think just being close to talk about something.
I'll
rather
still
than
be here.
try to go between two pictures. So, we had no violations, no record of violation. So all that was good and clean. It just when it came to the tank and these hatches, first of all, this tank is the new reclaim tank. And the inspector felt that there was not enough surface there to prevent anything coming into contact. Well, that's a HDPE made tank, and with HDPE, well, with the sunlight and cold, it does all kinds of weird workings and things like that. And when it's in the cool state, there's a very small tolerance, and it's not all the time, that you would have a seal. But now I had to add a seal in there, and I had to wait for the letter to verify that's all it's needed, that I need to put a seal in there. Now, the interesting thing is, a 36-inch seal is about 3/16 of an inch thick, and I need something about the thickness of a piece of paper, because otherwise I can't close the lid down.
Is this something that would be warranted under the
No.
process out there?
No, it's just that when the tank was designed, and now the state has, 4 months ago, had changed that hatch situation there, so that you no longer have that. Now you have to have a stainless steel cap on there. And FAWA, on their treatment tank up there, they were made to do that.
On
Now,
all their lids? Because I seen
All
the second deficiency here is the same thing. And so
No.
are they requiring overlapping or bell housing lids on everything now?
so I'll get to the second item in just a minute. So we're just talking about the hatch up there. And this is how fast, things could change in the state regulations. And when we designed the plant, and this was approved under the old rule, and then when you get the new rule and you get your sanitary survey, well, now you gotta do this. They allowed me to get away with just putting a seal in there, instead of putting on a $20,000 hatch configuration. And so that's what FAWA had to do. And they were in the middle, they had their plan already approved, and then they had a letter given to the engineer and saying, hey, you're gonna change your tank design for access to the lids to be sanitarily sealed. So, I'm gonna do the cheap thing that they recommend. I will probably end up doing the same thing that Fava has done up there. I just have to budget for something like that, obviously. The second item that you see there, so that's our 1 million gallon tank. And you look at it, so well, it's got a vent on it, what's the big deal? Well, the regulation had changed, and the last sanitary survey, the inspector at that time says you're okay, don't worry about it, you have just contact tanks. This time around, because we had built the new plant up there, it changed that entry point where we now are putting water immediately into the system up there in the tank field. Now the rules and regulations changed where now I have to do something about fixing that vent. Now, when you look at it, say, well, what's the big deal? You know, air can pass through the vent, and that's what they're concerned with, any contamination to get in there. Well, this tank has been built since 1995, and it's been fine all up to this point. So, what now has to happen is that there's a vent assembly, a whole new one, has to be cut into the top of the tank. Now, I argued this point with the inspector at the time that they did our sanitary survey. And she said, oh, you could put a piece of metal around just to give it a mushroom effect and it just flex the wind. I says, no, that's not current to your regulation. Your regulation is that's gotta be sitting 3 foot up in the air. It's gotta have the mushroom shroud around there with the 24 mesh screen, keep insects out of there. And it says, and what's funny is that yellow jackets now can get up in there and make nests. This is, I'm not sure what you're trying to accomplish here. That's what, I already brought this attention to you guys 7 years ago when this regulation went into play. So now I have to do something, and it's not as simple, okay, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is you have to cut into the tank. And every tank persons that I've dealt with so far, like 3 of them, DN tank, Viking tank, Pittsburgh tank, they say they will not do the work unless we take the tank offline. Well, guess what? If I took the tank offline, half the district would be out of water. I just can't do that. And I explained that to our inspector there. It says it's not as simple as me going and correct something within 120 days.
There's no variance allowed.
Well, after I present that, I have talked to some engineers and I got some bids in and stating what their concerns are and all that stuff. And mainly is when you cut in the tank, you're welding a whole new apparatus on top of there. You're affecting something that's structural, and not only it's structural, you have to have something that's warranted and safe for when we do tank inspections, so it doesn't break the welds. Because the top of the middle tank it's not very fun to walk on. You feel like you're walking on a waterbed kind of sort of thing, but it kind of scares you a little bit. When you walk in there and you see sheet metal just butt it to one to the other, and you got welds, and that's the only thing that's preventing you to falling through.
I'd be wearing flippers and a snorkel if I was I'd be ready for that.
I'm sorry, that can't work that way.
I'm gonna be ready for that.
You have to have fall protection and all that stuff on you. So, something like this is gonna cost about $30,000. It's just a round figure. The next couple months, I'm hoping I can get DN Tank to make that whole new vent assembly while they were building the new tank that's gonna be currently. And when that new tank goes into operation, we can take the other one out of operation and make the repair and then put that tank back into service.
Can we get a variance from them
I
until
have
that?
to show all that, and that's what this letter here I have talks about.
I mean, we can meet them halfway. Can they put a bell cap on the top for now?
No, it's just, it still wouldn't meet their criteria. If it was simple as that, I wouldn't be talking about it.
Well, she's the one that said you just have to put sheet metal around
Yeah,
it.
she was
Call
wrong.
it good, right? Well, talk to her about that. Hey, we'll put the sheet metal around it until we get our tank installed.
Have you ever argued with a government official and won?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well.
I think she's
Because
quite lovely.
Not in CDPHE world.
No, they're EPA. Would you?
Not when we're gonna need them for another permit here.
Yeah,
pretty soon. Let's play
let's not
nice.
make them mad.
Right. So you just comply with their wishes and then everything is happy and
I guess I'm surprised that there's not a grandfather variance in there
No.
until the new tank come online.
So every water district that has that type of style, vending or something similar, they were made to comply. And yes, everyone has argued the same thing I've argued about, and you go nowhere, you end up just doing what they wish. It's because it's their regulation.
Well, all right, cost of doing business, I guess, so.
So anyway, that's on that. Is there any other questions about the water report?
I have a comment.
Yes, sir.
So, you would not believe the amount of stuff that has happened with water since we've been on the board. The huge tank, how many gallons is the big tank?
It's
3
a 3
million?
million gallon, right?
3 million gallon tank that we put in just out west here a little ways.
Little ways.
It's a little.
It's only 8 miles of pipe.
Oh, it's 4.
Oh, it's 4?
It's 4 miles wide.
Our pump stations, Theriot, we have a brand new pump station that's been put in. Another water tank that we're getting ready to put in out here. All of our pump stations most of them are up to date, right?
All of them are now.
All of them are, with this last one, all of them are now. When we came on board, nothing was really new, right? We were dealing with all of this old stuff. Well, now, everything is up to date and new, and it's gonna last for years and years and years. And that's all thanks to JD. He not only is the best operator that you will ever find, but he also takes a lot of other stuff on board. Our water portfolio is amazing right now because JD went out and found the water. Everything that you could imagine that has to do with water, he knows how to take care of, and he has taken care of it. So this community is so fortunate to have him running a water department, which is the most important thing to all of us, right? Sam brought it up earlier. You want your stuff to go away, and when you turn on your faucet, you want water to come out. Well, he's the guy who makes sure that happens. So the only issue I have is I have to call him every once in a while for brown water call.
But that's not his fault.
Yeah.
No, that's not his fault. No. He fixes it for me though.
I'd also like to piggyback on that. So as the board knows, the community might not know, but we are the water operators for FAWA, so Falcon Area Water and Wastewater Authority. So for those that don't know what that is your Sterling Ranch area. It's a planned community of over 7,000 homes and businesses. We are their premier provider for water and wastewater services, including inspections. And JD has been integral in getting that system. Honestly, it is a big job that he has taken on to help that community, just like he's done for our community, get to where it needs to be to actually support 7,000 homes and businesses. And we have gotten constant recognition from the classic team who's behind FAWA, as well as their construction team that's out there, engineers. So I really think that, JD, not only has he served the Falcon area and Woodman Hills specifically very, very well for the last 11, 12 years.
11 years.
He's continuing that trend with our partners in the FAWA area. So the name Woodman Hills is synonymous with excellence when it comes to operations. And we're being tasked by a lot of different people for our knowledge and our expertise, and that's just a testament to the team that we have, JD being one of those.
We haven't talked about that yet at the meetings, have we? We're in water
We've
report.
talked
We haven't
about
talked
that.
about FAWA, that contract's ink's dry.
Yeah.
So for the community and the public, Woodman Hills has entered into an agreement with what we call FAWA, Falcon Area Water and Wastewater Authority, where Woodman Hills is 40% owner of the capacity in that pipeline. And that pipeline is gonna serve as a water junction to get water down here to Sterling Ranch and Woodman Hills from the Younger Ranch, which we bought 2,200 acre feet of water. We basically bought the water rights off the Younger Ranch last year. I've been really fortunate to go down to the title company and talk to some of these owners, the Youngers and folks when I'm down there signing the closing documents and stuff. But it's that they approach us to do business. It's not a matter of us reaching out. I mean, they look for water, but those folks approach us. So not only did we sign a contract with the Youngers to purchase that water at 2,200 acre feet, but we have a planned well drilling plan for out there. Everything's dialed in. We entered into an agreement with Follow where we own 40% of the capacity in that pipeline because it saved the community money. What it allows us to do is it allows all of us to use that pipeline at it's basically a discounted rate for us. We're 40% owners, but that allows us to get all that new water once we drill wells up there down here to our community. It also gives us access to the Winsome water, Bar X water, and Shamrock wells up there through the Follow agreement. The cost savings to our district is astronomical. For us to run that pipeline up there would be in the neighborhood of, what do we say, $40 million?
At least.
And it's costing us 12.5, 12.8. I think
Yeah.
12.8 was what we're projecting right now. So the savings for that, and not only that, but the water that we purchased up there. We didn't only purchase the water from the Younger Ranch. In that contract, we have first right of refusal to the properties that touch that ranch. So we have positioned the district, this board has positioned this district for the future to be able to have access to that water and to have, not a monopoly, but a firm footing on the most precious commodity you can have in Colorado, and that's drinking water. Now it's just drilling it and getting the pipeline done. But I think they're already in, so for the community, they're already in phase 2, correct? Almost done with phase 2. And that's gonna be, how many miles of pipeline, JD?
That's gonna be 5 miles to the Winston Barfield and.
So basically all that pipeline that you've been seeing running up, what is it, Goodson there? Is that Goodson over there?
That's Goodson and right along.
That is, we own part of that. And not only that, but we have 2 members of our district that sit on that operations board. And we also operate that. And the money we receive for operating that helps us pay that debt for that percentage of the pipeline that we own, the capacity we own. So I hope I explained that well enough. But I don't think we had the opportunity to bring that out to the public yet since I signed that, last month?
Yeah.
We finalized that deal. So very big deal. This board and this district made happen what the county's been trying to do for almost 10 years.
And they were not happy with us.
But we brought it to Woodman Hills instead of the county going around Woodman Hills. So it's things like that these guys make happen because they bring that stuff to the board. We'd have never known about the water if they wouldn't have went out and got it. We'd have never known about part of our new plant expansion has to have brine drying fields. And a couple of years ago, we purchased Wally found 110 acres. Is that what that looked like? 105 acre plot of land. And we got it for less. I mean, yeah, I felt like we were stealing when we bought it, but we got it purchased, and so that's a project that's 10 years down the road yet from being completed. But we already have. This team is that far ahead, and they are way far ahead of their counterparts in any of these other districts. So, I mean, John can't express that enough, and I know he brought it up, and I'm trying not to talk as much as I normally do, but I think it's important that the community knows what these folks do for you on the ground every day in day-to-day operations, the stuff they bring to the table. So, and that's not even half of what we can discuss. Once everything's, the ink's wet and things are put out to the public, you would be amazed at what this district does and is capable of doing. we operate most of the water, and or the foremost experts in most of the wastewater in eastern Colorado, so.
Thank you for your report, JD.
Very good.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for this.
In color.
In color, yeah.
Your board packet's in color.
For clarification, I didn't get a board packet.
Here. Look, you did.
Oh, no, I did now. John and I are sharing
See,
it.
you got one. Here, you want this?
It's fine.
Yeah, right.
Double word.
Well played. Gosh, I'm gonna really miss my counterparts next month.
Thank you, JD. All right, let's move on to item 11, and that's a presentation on and consideration of approval of the, the 23 draft audit. It's ready?
So,
No.
unfortunately, it's not. I left it on here. I didn't have you guys admit it just because I wanted to be able to give a status update. So,
Hang on, tee it up first so that everybody knows we're not dragging our feet on
No.
2023 audit.
Not at all.
We made some changes. We needed different auditors.
So there was two big impacts to the 23 audit. Number one, in mid 23, we did a system conversion. So prior to the system conversion, we were using software that was not ideal for municipality work. And the system didn't talk to each other, so it was a lot of manual work. So we made the decision to move to an ERP system, or Enterprise Resource Planning tool, that's cloud-based. So no on-prem servers are needed or software, it's all cloud-based. So you got internet connection, you can access the software. Hindsight being 2020, I would have never done it in the middle of the year. I would have actually done it at the beginning of the next year. And I've learned my lesson, so that cutover has caused a lot of consternation when you're looking at the financials of the district and activity and GL balances, all the financial reporting that goes into an audit. So that was kind of number one. Number two, we also moved to a new audit firm. We did sign a 3-year contract versus like an annual contract. We, previous to that, had 2 different audit firms. We had one audit firm for a lot of years, and they did, I would say, okay work for us. There were certain things that they did not highlight that they probably should have, which is one of the reasons why the board made a decision to go to the second firm. Well, the second firm, when they took us on, they told us they were going to be able to serve us for multiple years. And then we ended the 22 audit, and they told us, yep, we're not going to be able to take you on as a long-term client. So then it was back to the drawing board, finding another audit firm. So 3 years, 3 different audit firms. So that is not ideal, as Stacy can probably attest. So having a new audit firm is also a very painstaking process, because when you're a new client, they do probably 7 times the amount of review when it comes to policies, procedures. I can't even tell you the amount of conversations I've had about the things that they're looking into and they're asking for. And my question is always like, is this normal? Because no one has ever asked me these questions. So these are good things. These are things that I think that the community is really going to enjoy from a transparency perspective, control items, right? Overall, those 2 things are really is what put us into this position where we're 25 talking about a 23 audit. But I am happy to say that we are past the hard part. We are doing a lot of testing of expenses and revenues right now, which is kind of the last part of an audit review. All internal controls are done. So by the May meeting, we will have the final presentation and review for the board to approve and sign off on, and then we will essentially roll right into the 2024 audit and get that done on time and approved by the board before the July deadline. So
You're gonna get all of 2024 done by the July deadline?
It's faster the second go around.
Well, it is faster.
It is faster.
It is faster, but
Is it
2 months faster?
Is it practical? we'll find out.
Okay.
So, ideal state, well, I've already scheduled all of the work with the auditors for 24 to get it done in that July timeframe.
What's the air set on?
But if we have to,
Yeah.
Are you cold?
It's a little
Oh,
chilly.
it's freezing.
I'm watching people put jackets on and back there.
but if we have to, by statute, we can ask for a 90-day, up to a 90-day extension if we need to. I'm hoping to avoid that for various reasons. I
Right.
have lots of other things that I would like to be doing instead of living in audit world for the last 2 years.
Oh, great.
So, ideal state, I'm gonna get it before July 31st. I think if we have to push it out 30 days, 60 days, we can definitely do that, but definitely well within that 90-day extension if need be.
Well, I love the optimism.
I'm gonna stay optimistic.
Part of the reason we wanted to switch firms is we had used the same firm for so long, it almost felt like a rubber stamp on our audit every year. So to do a forensic audit is very expensive. And to do a forensic audit, you have to have a specific thing that you're looking for to present to the auditors for them to look for. So the next best thing is to change auditors, because then they have to start all over and dig in and initialize everything all over again. So the easiest thing to do to make sure that we're up to snuff and report to the community that we're up to snuff is to change auditors. We didn't anticipate changing every year. But it will be a better thing going forward, coming out of it, so.
And it was actually just announced, I don't know if anybody, you probably know, Baker Tilly is also a big CPA firm nationwide. Baker Tilly and our current firm, Moss Adams, are actually merging. So it will be one large firm, which is actually a great thing for us that brings on a way more resources available to us as a client. So I'm actually really excited about that merge. But that merge
Do they
is
do
happening.
legal representation?
No, they're just accounting. Look at John. It's getting concerned. It's getting concerned. Maybe not.
I'm kidding. Just making sure you're still awake over there.
Oh, yeah.
So I've thrown my 2 cents in on the other enterprises. I wanna throw 2 cents in here, what?
Okay, or you can let Stacy go. She works with the audits and the financials more than anybody.
Yeah, but I'm leaving. Today's my last day. She's staying.
By choice, guys. By choice. Like I
Thank you, Stacey.
wasn't held here.
One of the best things that this district has done since I've been part of it is hiring that guy right there. We had so many problems in the past. It was such a disaster. Nobody knew what was going on. You'd have a specific meeting to cover a specific subject, and the person that sat in that seat could not give you a specific answer about anything. Carter and I have our weekly or bi-weekly phone calls.
Bet you'll miss those.
Next.
And it doesn't matter what I ask him. I try to pull stuff out that I don't think he can answer once in a while. And he's got it right there. He knows exactly what's happening. Now we know where our money is in Woodman Hills. We know where our money's coming from. We know where our money's going to. Before, we couldn't really say that at all. His staff over there, he's got a wonderful staff. Great people. If you ever get the opportunity to go in and just say hi, great people to talk to. Very helpful. But everything he has done way beyond, I think, what we said. Here's your job description. So,
We've added a couple things.
couple things.
Just a few.
And he's another one, JD goes out and looks for water. He goes out and looks for ways that we can save the district money. He brings people in that explain, hey, we can help you this way with investing, or this way with borrowing, or this way with whatever. And then he takes their idea and he turns it around and makes it his own idea and works in a different way. So he's not having to pay these people to do this job. Saves the district money. It's just been a lot of fun working with him. All his knowledge, everything he does. Now he just has to figure out how to quit having kids and. No, but thank you very much. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you, John.
×2, I guess. You guys are all right.
Do you want me to explain the kids' parts?
My current problem is chickens.
Did you get some?
We got 4. Because my wife's already expanded our coop. I just went and picked up an 8x8 enclosure so that she can get more. And keep in mind, their pullets, they're not even outside yet. And it's already expanded.
They grow fast.
It takes just as much time to take care of one chicken as it does 50.
Don't tell her that.
I had 2 coyotes on the backside of my fence.
Mm.
In that field over there off Judge Orr. 2 of them just hanging out almost all morning yesterday.
Mm.
Waiting for somebody's chickens?
I'm waiting for somebody's chickens.
Next.
All right, let's move on to item 12. Consider for approval survey permission request from Rex Colorado Corporation.
Yeah, so I'll take this one because Wally's not here. District has a piece of land that was originally purchased in the last year for the purpose of placing brine beds as part of Wally's enterprise. And a oil and gas company, I think it was Rex Corp on the form, looks like they're either a subsidiary or contractor of the Rocky Mountain Pipeline, which is a subsidiary or contractor of the Pony Express pipeline that runs from like Wyoming to Ohio.
Which is a natural gas pipe.
Yeah, natural gas pipeline. So they had come to the district and proposed, essentially, this is for approvals for a survey specifically. Long-term, this would, if they approve the survey and all that, would likely move to an easement. But they would like to essentially run the pipeline through the district's tract. Wally and I have worked with their group, and originally it was going right through the dead middle,
Yeah.
Which would have impacted the brine beds. It'd essentially the district couldn't do anything with it. So we went back to him, and Wally worked with him on essentially aligning the pipeline route with the edges of the tract, which Wally believes should not, if they approve this ultimately, and this, I should say, this is their map. Wally proposed a new drawing. They came back with this and says, here's what we'd like to survey. So this is the proposal for the survey approval. But ultimately, Wally doesn't believe this would have any impact then on the future location of the brine beds.
Good.
Much better.
Looks a lot better than it did last time.
Yeah, the lines through the middle of it were not
And
impressive.
Wally has reached out to that group about pricing for the easement. Haven't heard back yet. He has also been on vacation. So if the survey goes through and they like the alignment, then obviously from a financial perspective, I'm interested because we got that property for a steal. If we can also get a permanent easement that pays us residuals, that's not a bad deal either for us. So win, 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 win.
So what do you guys need here?
So I asked for approval for the survey specifically.
Who's doing the survey, us or them?
They will.
Okay.
Yep.
We're just approving to allow them to go on the property to survey.
Correct.
I make a motion, we approve.
I'll second.
Motion by John, and a second by Stacy. Any other discussion on it?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 13, consider for approval the overlap consent resolution relating to Falcon Fields.
That
Yeah.
wasn't, I didn't have the resolution, so it's not in your packet, but John has the resolution.
I apologize, I do not have a resolution, but I will talk you through this, and we're working on a few details. So Falcon Fields Metropolitan District was organized a while back, originally as a full commercial district. That sat for a while, and recently the property was sold to a new developer who would like to structure it as into kind of 3 pieces, 1 piece being commercial and 2 pieces being residential. As part of that, they have to amend and restate their service plan to grant the new authorities for the new boundaries.
Oh,
and
that'll
boundaries.
take them years.
And for those of you in the room, Falcon Fields is a piece of property that is at 24 and Woodman Hills on the east side of the road.
So what this is for, oh, nice. So basically, when you, Title 32, which governs special districts, states that if you are forming a metropolitan district within the boundaries of another metropolitan district, and you are sharing the same, or not sharing, but if you have the power to provide the same services, you requires essentially consent from the larger metropolitan district to allow you to provide those services. In this case, the new Falcon Fields districts, and I think it's going to be Falcon Fields Commercial and then Falcon Fields Residential 1 and 2. We'll see what they ultimately change their name to, but that's what's being proposed as, on at least on their, only about, part of the delay, I apologize, was these discussions originally started about a month ago. Their filing on EDARP wasn't until a couple weeks ago. So I didn't have a chance to read through their actually amended restated service plan until recently here. But they got this submitted to EDARP. Eventually in this process, they're going to require Woodman Hills consent if they are to move forward with water and wastewater and parks and rec services as part of their service plan. Now, Carter and I originally talked about this, and the question is, well, why would they also need water and wastewater services? As you might recall, all of Falcon Fields was included into Woodman Hills. We have an inclusion agreement that is in place and recorded against their property that allows Woodman to provide those services. The reason is this. Part of this initial development, and something that's part of all of our inclusion agreements, is that whoever's being included needs to install the local and off-site infrastructure for water and wastewater before they convey it to Woodman Hills. So for them to have the authority to just build the pipelines in the ground before conveying it to Woodman Hills, they're going to need that authority in their service plan on day one. What I copied and pasted here was directly from their letter of intent to El Paso County, which states that it is their intent for Woodman Hills to be providing the sanitary and water services for Falcon Fields Metropolitan District. So they're essentially asking for consent to move forward with their amended restated service plan because they're asking for the ability to build that infrastructure before it's turned over to Woodman Hills.
We agreed to water.
Yeah, where's the water coming from?
Well,
So
in the inclusion agreement, they, just like we've done in the past, there's whatever deeded water is there comes to us, and then that is like a little bank that they can use against. They only have 22 SFEs worth of credit. The remaining, they will have to pay whatever the current in-district WAC fee is per SFE above and beyond. In that inclusion agreement, the board also approved the total amount of SFEs that we were willing to serve on both water and wastewater. So that's already been calculated in our water portfolio as, hey, this has been included, we've already said we were gonna give that. So it's not like you're taking water out of the inventory that wasn't already accounted for.
So they're sticking with the same agreement.
They
because
can't go around it.
There was already the 1 mil that they were gonna charge their residents.
Correct.
And then it would be transferred as a fee to our park and rec.
Correct. That's also true.
And
So
yeah, and
they're
that's-
gonna pay the tap fees, they're gonna pay the WAF fees, and they're going to charge a 1 mil for their parks and rec and provide that.
Which comes
to
in
us.
big because that goes against their commercial as well.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'll note too, I didn't include the 1 mil, but they also did cite that in their letter of intent,
Okay.
that was recognized. And this is all in the 2019 inclusion agreement.
I
So that
just
was
wanted to
before
make
our
sure
time.
we were same agreement,
Yeah.
just new builder.
Yeah, so all I'd be asking for the board today is essentially approval to move forward with this overlapping, or providing of overlapping consent. I'll then put this into a resolution and send it to the board for just kind of one final review. If there's any material changes, we'll bring it back to the board. for
I'll make a motion we approve.
Motion by John to approve,
I'll second.
second by Kelsey. Any other discussion on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, I'm glad to see this on here. Item 14, consider for approval of campground agreement.
How much background do you want me to give?
Well, we already know that we didn't have anything there.
I mean, for this one, probably 30,000 foot view.
Okay. So we provide extraterritorial wastewater service to the Falcon RV campground. So those that don't know where that is, take 24 out, and it's on that kind of right-hand side. It's kind of pretty far out of our district boundary, but we did enter into that, I would say, agreement, even though there was never anything memorialized that we found out later. Fast forward to a couple months ago, we were contacted by the owners of the campground. They are needing to get more water. They have to drill new wells, and part of that process, they had to figure out a way to return some of that water back into the ground, right? That's part of UBS rules of Upper Black Squirrel. And they reached out to us about the wastewater return flows, because they send their wastewater to us. So what this contract contemplates is a couple different things. One, it memorializes the actual agreement that we have in place, that we're servicing them, who's responsible for what. So there's a very tiny force main that goes out there that is actually, typically would be force mains are our responsibility, but in this case, it is theirs. So we memorialize that, saying that you own, we'll maintain it, but you own it, so if anything happens, you have to fix it. The other thing that it does is, from a rate perspective, we were charging them way under cost of service because we didn't have a memorialized agreement. This now memorializes that, hey, you're gonna be charged whatever the current in-district rate for commercial users of wastewater is. It also memorializes the fee that they're being charged for their wastewater return flow right. So we're doing a couple different things. They get the benefit of getting a return flow right to help them with the Upper Black Squirrel. We get the benefit of a true memorialized agreement of this service, and we're getting paid appropriately for both the service as well as the return flow right. So what we calculated was what that return flow right was worth, and we put it into a annual fee, but then we broke it down monthly. So we're just adding it to their monthly bill, make it easier for them. Instead of saying, hey, lump sum payment every year is this, we now just break it down into 12 equal payments for them, and that will essentially go on forever. So it's actually a good deal for us financially, gives us a little bit more money, but meets the cost of service needs from a financial perspective, and gives them that benefit, that return flow right.
Which they need because they are being required to update and upgrade everything, because they are majorly affected by the Highway 24 expansion.
Correct.
Which is gonna encroach on a large piece of their property.
Yep. Any other questions about that agreement? I mean, that was really the 30,000 foot view, but this is a pretty lengthy.
Oh, that's good. I just wanted to put substance behind it before we vote on it.
And it also has been agreed upon by the RV campground owners. They didn't send me a copy, like signing it, so as soon as the board signs it, we'll turn around, Wall and I, and send it to them, get their signature, and then we'll have a fully executed agreement.
I'll make a motion, we agree.
I'll second.
Motion for approval by John, second by Stacy. Any other discussion on it?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right, here's the fun one. This was great reading last night. Discussion on and consideration for approval of submission of the amended and restated service plan. And this one is going to need some background so that the public knows that we are not changing anything to their services in anything.
Yeah, absolutely. So Woodman Hill's original service plan was approved in 1995. Since then, there have been 2 amendments to it. I believe the last one was in
2011.
2011, right?
I think it was actually earlier than that. I'd have to go back. There was 2. Ultimately,
2011, they went to the
it
county
was
trying to,
I think that one failed though.
It did fail.
Okay.
It went for enforcement of covenants
Mm-hmm.
and increase of debt.
Yeah. So the district operates kind of an interesting way that Troy discussed previously, where most metropolitan districts kind of act in the same way as most government does, in that you have a boundary and you impose taxes. And then whatever services the district provides are through those taxes. Woodman is interesting because it has essentially no authorized taxing authority. It has the ability to issue fees in order to fund the services that are provided. So, and that was the case in the original service plan back in 1995, and that's still the case today. Back in 1995, gets a little complicated here, but basically, because the district provides very specific services, water, wastewater, and parks and rec, there's something called enterprise funds that are used to provide those services. Those enterprise funds function a little bit outside of a normal taxing scenario that's say regulated by Tabor, in that it follows the limitations provided in the service plan itself. So what's happening here is over the last 25 years, 30 years now, last 30 years, is the needs of the district has expanded beyond the current authorization for the cap of those enterprise funds. And enterprise funds are unique because this isn't, again, these are fee-based. You still have to go to the market and get a bond issued, and you can't simply raise your fees to whatever you want. It has to be supported by current market rates, the bond market, things of that nature. And what's happening here is in the pipeline, there are several very large projects that the district is going to have to undergo. The biggest at the moment is upgrades to the wastewater facility, and those are very expensive. And essentially, we need to go to the county who authorized the district service plan and request the ability to kind of increase what they've said is our cap in order to support those changes. And as you can imagine, what you think something costs in 1995 is going to be very, very different than what it costs today. So unfortunately, those same numbers just aren't reflective of what the district can function on at this point in time. So the district needs to be able to make its upgrades, and in order to support that, it needs an amended restated service plan. I'll note kind of a few key features. In terms of I should actually add here too. What the service plan does is it lays out the very basic rules of what the district is authorized to do. These are the guidelines. Whether they can provide water service or not is stated in the service plan. Whether they can provide covenant enforcement is stated in the service plan. If the county says no, then the district doesn't have the power to do whatever the action is in the service plan. As far as this amended or restated service plan is concerned, the district has never had the ability to enforce covenants. It is not asking for the ability to enforce covenants. That's going to stay exactly the same. It is not asking to provide any new services that the district does not already provide. It is also not removing any services that the district currently provides. Essentially, the entire purpose of this amended restated service plan is simply to increase what is, referred to as the enterprise fund cap in prior amendments, to allow the district to continue to repair and support the infrastructure that the district already provides. So, long story short, with approval of the board tonight, we will finalize this draft and we will send it to El Paso County. It'll then go in front of the Planning Commission. It would then go in front of the Board of County Commissioners. And should they all approve, this new service plan is adopted and this becomes the set rules for the district going forward. And part of the reason we like to bring these back to the board, obviously, is that it's a good chance for the public to kind of get reintroduced. The service plan, even though it doesn't really say much different than the original service plan, it reads very, very differently than when this was originally written in 1995. Also, there are some costs associated with this. I looked over the last 3 service plans we submitted to El Paso County, and the costs ranged from $4,000 to $8,000. So to make the board just aware of that fact in front, the submission will cost somewhere in the ballpark of that. So that's part of the approval we're requesting is financing approval for the, I'm guessing, probably $8,000 cost to go through this process.
Of course, it'll be higher.
Oh,
I'm guessing this is rather have to authorize that, and hopefully it's less. Always hope it's less.
At least it's not a red Corvette.
Yeah.
And it does specifically state in here statutorily, when you take out debt on a metro district, depending on what type of debt that is, The actual amortization has to be 20 years on, I can't remember the debts, 30 years on the other debts that are issued for the district residents, so it can't go beyond that. So that would be the extent of this. The ultimate goal of any corporation or business or even state organization is to balance the budget and not have any debt. Unfortunately, we live in a day and age where a simple expansion of a plant like that to meet today's EPA standards and everything that goes with it is upwards of what are we looking, $45 million?
55.
$55 million.
75% of that cost is all regulatory.
And so when I talk about we've tried to reverse engineer the fee base, we've went out, 8 years in planning for this plant to be able to pay the majority of it out of pocket in cash, brought in partners to pay for some of it, but some of it will still go into our fees until we hit the 8-year mark, and then things should level out. Hopefully, considering there's no other regulatory requirements or changes.
Yeah, so just to kind of let the board know where we're at on this. So we have a very good draft right now. Carter is working with some of the contractors to finalize a few of the exhibits. Once we have those back, we'll do a final review and we should be good to submit. So if the board is all right with this, we would ask for approval of submitting the amended restated service plan to the county, subject to the final revisions necessary.
I had one question.
Absolutely.
In there, it states the district does not have the authority to enforce covenants.
Correct. Yeah, we are not going back to the county like in 2012 and requesting covenant
So that
enforcement
is the
authority.
entire district?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's correct. The district, and just to clarify for residents as well, covenants specifically refer to rules against your property. It does not refer to rules on the district's property. So the district can have rules and regulations saying, hey, we're going to manage the pipes and the things like that. But they can't tell you, the district cannot tell you what color to paint your house and things of that nature.
I make a motion, we move forward.
I'll second.
Motion by John, a second by Stacy. Any other discussion on it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
This has been a lot of years of work.
I was gonna say,
A
man.
lot of years.
We've had, you're the third
Attorney.
to work on that.
We'll get this one passed. Yeah. I think next up is the attorney's report. So I'll touch base on a couple matters, then we can dive into the specifics. Since we have residents here, so this year was an election, as has been noted. As part of that, Stacy and Kelsey. Stacy was elected for another term. Kelsey's term did not come up, so you'll see the two of them at future meetings. Troy and John are basically done after this meeting, should they choose not to ask to be appointed at a later date, and the board oblige. But so going forward, what this looks like is on May 6th is truly election day. That is the last day that John and Troy will be serving in this position. On May 7th, we will work with with Stacy and the new board member that'll be joining on getting their oaths of office signed, and you'll see them take office at the final Thursday of May will be their first meeting. So the transition happens starting May 7th. But at this point, the way it works is we send out essentially we request self-nomination for people to apply for the board, essentially. If we get fewer people that apply than there are board seats, we simply cancel the election, and it saves the district a whole boatload of money. Because there's no reason to send out ballots for you just to say, yes, I approve the 3 people that, are the only people running for these seats. So election has officially been canceled by this point, and you'll see the change in office take place on May 7th. The other thing is I'll touch base also on legislation, just really quick. And if you have any question on any other pieces of legislation, I'm happy to dive in. The big one is the tap fee legislation that is undergoing many, many amendments. Last we spoke, when the original draft said that a special district must provide service generally to anyone that requests it. The current amendment limits that to those within the boundaries of the district. So that's the major change. We'll kind of see where it goes from here, but that's the current standing of it. Then I'm happy to discuss kind of any of these as one-off. And Kelsey, I'm sure you have a few questions here.
Have you heard anything from, I ask this every time, have you heard anything from that incident that happened?
We have not. So there was an unfortunate accident where someone, I believe, was struck by a vehicle at an intersection that was kind of off of Woodman Hills Trail, but I believe it was in the road, which Woodman Hills does not own that road or maintain it. And we received notice, which is standard procedure, that there may be litigation in that case. And we are considering suing a government entity. You have to provide notice. So just a default procedure doesn't mean anything will actually come of it, but we have not heard anything else in regards to the original notice we received a few months back.
Do you have any updates on the delinquencies that we did like months ago?
That'd be for cars. So at the end of the year, we certify accounts that haven't been paid with the county. The county then collects that as property taxes. I'm gonna guess we'll see most of that in May. Majority of people pay their property taxes usually in April, and usually takes about a month to process, and then the district would receive a check after that.
I'm hoping it's not hail.
It's supposed to hit.
Is it?
I got a little warning.
We, not necessarily us, but the county has received
It is hail.
some of those levies. But they have not, the county has not released the funds to us. I had put an email into the treasurer's office to find out why they haven't released those funds. And I'm waiting for a response. So hopefully in May I'll be able to give you another update.
Yeah. And that's when every county does it differently. Some do it, it's usually within 30 days of receiving it, but some don't start until after April, because that's when the majority will in.
Typically, the county releases funds the 10th. Property tax is dumped on the 10th of each month.
I don't know.
Just saying.
Is that all the questions you have?
Come on, you got more.
I do, there's just nothing super interesting.
It is only the
Super interesting.
I mean, a lot of things are on the back
So
burners.
I did see the four-way ranch piece on there, and it does seem like there is still something there with District 1 and 2.
Yeah, we haven't heard any updates yet. And I think generally speaking, everyone's kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with this tap fee bill. Because I know there's always concern, the district has X amount of water. And there's a difference when someone's outside the district, you don't have to give them that water. Once you include them, there's at least an obligation to provide water in general, and wastewater and everything else here. So I think a lot of districts are just kind of generally holding right now, waiting to see what will happen with that prior to moving forward with future inclusions.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
I have your card question though. As far as I think it was courtyards, the water, do they ever pay that?
We looked
When they had that water?
at the last meeting and they had paid. I'd say that with a grain of salt, right? Because we're getting ready to start irrigation season. And that's when those big bills start to rack up. And specifically, there are HOAs that have commercial irrigation systems are notorious for not paying. But we, between JD and myself, our teams, we've been really good about shutting them off if they don't pay. Right, so our policy is not to shut off water to like businesses, like let's say King Soopers has been on, right? That's actually happened a few times. We're not gonna shut their water off, right? We may send them demand letters, but we're not gonna shut them off. I sure as heck are gonna shut off an irrigation account. That's very expensive water because it's potable water that they're using for irrigation. That's water that can be used for residential taps. So we are very keen on making sure we get paid there. If we're not gonna get paid, we shut it off and we'll lock them out, which we have done that several times.
So
you're
right
not getting
now,
access to it until you can do it.
so right now padlocks are still in place on all of their stuff, right?
No, we took those on.
That was a different one that you took off.
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So I don't know if you guys remember, but the other courtyards area took out their irrigation meter. So they removed their backflow devices, we took out our equipment, and then, lo and behold, they came back saying, no, we actually want it back. So, within the last couple of weeks, we went back out there and got all the backflows tested and put our equipment back in so that they could start irrigating again. But this is the other courtyards, it's not a problem.
That's the courtyards behind Team Supers.
Right.
So the courtyards I'm talking about is where one of our board members lives.
So those are all off.
Are those off
Those are
and
off.
still padlocked?
Yes, they got padlocks.
Yes, those
Do-
are often locked.
So
Do
when
we
was your
have
board
a,
meeting?
Brown grass.
do we have
I'm
a plan in
excited. I didn't know
place
this.
to ensure that whoever does their irrigation stuff has it fixed and a way for us to verify that it's fixed before we turn them back on?
Yes, we have made that abundantly clear to the management company that they will not get access until they have hired said contractor that can do it right, and we are there to observe that it is actually done correctly, and then at that point will we remove our locks.
Is it Warren Management, right?
I think so.
Well,
Are there-
I think they did the landscaping, it's hired out every year, because
Yeah,
Brighton was, for the longest time, was their landscaper.
They've done
But
multiple
last summer, it
times.
was not Brighton.
Multiple.
And also, this was probably a good time to, on record, say we're under water restrictions currently,
Right.
at what level?
stage one.
Stage one and beginning 6th lane.
I was
So,
gonna ask about that. I've seen people like water their grass when it's raining. Like commercial properties.
Yes.
What
on a
kind of parameters are we setting?
So there's
this
nothing in
day
the
of the week?
restriction, so nothing in the restriction says you can't water when it's raining, but that's just kind of dumb to do that.
It's very wasteful.
The restrictions are more about residential, is depending on your address, is either an even odd day, and then commercial has 1 day a week, right? That's what the restriction stipulations are, and then that's what we monitor for. So let's say we see the Falcon Marketplace watering on a Monday, right? That's outside of restrictions. We will then notify that this is your first offense, so you get a freebie, and then a second offense, you're gonna get charged, third, fourth, so on and so forth. It can escalate to the point where we'll just shut them off completely and lock you out because you're not abiding by the restrictions.
So
And
before
obviously
we did
stage
not
two-
have that in place.
We did, but it wasn't as robust as we have now. I mean, that was before JD was in his position where he had ultimate authority to do that, and then also my team. So I think now that you have the right people in place to actually monitor these things, we're able to do so and enforce those rules.
in district-wide, so our public spaces, we do have water meters, water gauges on our irrigation. They're not invaluable, though, they jam up and the heads, and so it will happen. Most of the time, it's not intentional when those are on, 'cause I'm sure they have water gauges on theirs too, but unfortunately, it's when those pieces of equipment sit out in the sun and the rain, they do get gummed up, but we, at least with ours, we notice it and fix those, so that doesn't happen. So if it rains, that gauge fills up, puts weight down, it doesn't tell their system not to do it.
I think the other thing, we've talked about this in the past, but especially when it comes to irrigation, is as much as I think we would all love lush, green beltways and whatnot, it's extremely expensive. Again, it's potable water that's being used. That's why the district as a whole, our policy is, okay, what can we do to put in native grasses and things so we don't need as much grass? What we're doing on the finance side is not only did we right-size the cost of service for irrigation, but we have put a larger increase annually on commercial irrigation to hopefully, and to be honest, to limit the amount of irrigation that is going on because it is so expensive to produce as well as for those people to use.
They'll just raise your HOA fees.
Well,
I strongly believe that's why it went up $10 a month was because they owed a lot of money to us.
well,
Just
on
saying.
district wide, we use water too, and you very rarely, unless it's a rainy season, you won't see our Meridian Ranch will not be the greenest, like a golf course, and that is on purpose, because we do have to be cognizant of the water. We water it as best we can, but we also are gonna abide by the restrictions and watch what we're doing, because we, as Parks and Recreation, we still have we're still a water district, so we're not gonna be throwing it away.
Turf is lovely.
It is.
I mean, that was the reason. I mean, you know, for Balkan Park, when we did the review, it was 250,000 gallons of water every single year. That is a lot of water that could be utilized elsewhere. So when we were looking at the financial model, we say, do we continue to do that and reseed every year, which costs tens of thousands of dollars to do? Or do we spend upfront $400,000 on putting in turf for a field? Well, if you do the math and you're thinking 250,000 gallons of water plus reseed, you will actually pay for that park in less than 5 years. It is a 15-year useful life asset. So you have 10 years of nothing but 100% profit when you're thinking about how much we invested in that park. And that's not even counting all the programming that we do in that park. So I would actually even venture a bet that we have paid that thing off probably pretty close by the end of this year because of the decisions that were made. So water, yes, is a very big, important asset. We've gone out and we purchased a lot, but we want to be better stewards than anybody else in our region with the water that we have. So we're going to put policies both in practice and in finance in place to ensure that we continue to do that.
All right, thank you. With that, we'll take a 5-minute recess going into executive session. And then I'll motion we enter executive session for determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiation under CRS 246402-4E, that's namely the Cherokee Metropolitan District litigation settlement and Grandview inclusion, and for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal matters pursuant to CRS 246402-4B, and that's namely water resources and acquisition.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
I made a motion, I just need a second.
Go for it.
Second.
Second, motion by myself, second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll take a 5-minute recess. Item 18, items unfinished from previous meeting. None. Item 19, board follow-up on older items.
No.
No. 20, other business.
Those seem like redundant, 18 and 19.
Yeah, they do, kind of. All right, and with no other business, can I
I
get
make a
to
motion to
adjourn?
adjourn.
Motion adjourned by John, second by Stacy. Any other discussion?
Nope.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.